The role was going to be played by Billy Barty. And, of course, everyone knows Billy Barty. And, but Billy took ill, not seriously ill, but he, you know, not able to do the show. And so Sid and Marty called me and said, Billy, would you mind doing the genie? And I said, okay. I said, but I've never done a genie before. Well, I'd never done a witch before either, so whatever. And that's how I got Lidsville. Comparing the genie to Witchy Poo. Well, first of all, if you ask Witchy Poo that, she'd say nothing compares to her. You know, Witchy Poo had that ego, you know what I'm saying? Well, entirely different, honey. It's just entirely different. You're just calling on... When I did Witchy Poo, I had such freedom to be the way I think all humans would like to be, and that's say what you think. Don't worry about the consequences. You may be a bad guy, but you're not rotten. You can just, I don't know, Witchy Poo gave me a lot of freedom as an actress. I could just kind of be my screwy self, you know what I mean? But the genie, you're disciplined. You have to remember that the genie represents a whole different thing than Witchy Poo would. And the children look at the genie. The genie represents something different to children. When they look at Witchy Poo, that's a whole different ball game, you know. So it was an interesting thing to do, though, that role right after Witchy Poo, because you really had to pull yourself in, you know what I mean? And well, whatever. But that's the difference. One is a disciplined role, and the other one is pull out all the stops, pretty much. Well, to play Witchy Poo and the same segment as the genie, it's like being schizophrenic in a way. It would be different if it were on stage. It would really be difficult to do on stage, of course. You know, you'd just be following yourself. But when you're filming something, which Puff and Stuff and Lidsville was on film, you just, it wasn't difficult. That's all I can say is that, you know, I had played Witchy Poo so often, and she was like second nature to me. So the genie basically was a more difficult role for me because my personality isn't like too much the genie. You know what I mean? I can be that way if I'm in church or something, but my regular personality is more like Witchy Poo. I hate to admit it. But anyway, that's about it, yeah. Lidsville, got along with everybody because basically I was working with the little people again, and we all really care about each other. I have such admiration for them. And then, of course, Butch, you know, I'd not met Butch before, and he's just a delightful person to know and to be around. He's just a positive person, a good person. And, of course, Charles Riley is a good friend of mine. So, and I had worked with Charlie, or Charles, whatever, 100 years ago in Kansas City, and he doesn't even remember it. That's how. And I said, how can you not? It was summer stock in Kansas City, and called the Starlight Theater or something in Kansas City, and it was called Hit the Deck. It was a revival of a show that they had done in the 30s. It was a wonderful show. And there was no role in that show for me, but I had auditioned for it anyway. And they said, oh, I love the number you auditioned with. It was called I Won't Dance, and because I was a dancer originally. Charlie had a principal role in that. He was like a naval officer. And he and I sat at the table together on stage and just I only had that number to do. He said, Billy, I don't remember. I said, oh, thanks a lot. He said, I don't remember that number at all. But I was doing Lidsville with Charles then. And so that was fun to do it with him, you know, because he is a terrific guy. And I don't recall anybody being afraid of Lidsville, like, you know, maybe Charlie scaring them. Of course, knowing him so well, you see, I couldn't possibly envision anybody being afraid of Charlie, but then that's because I see him outside of Hoodoo, you know. But no, I've had a lot of people not know that I did the genie. You know, they somehow or another they didn't connect, you know, my being the genie until maybe they found out, however, from my website or whatever. But and then Witchy Poo's role, I had people who, I've had adults, wonderful emails. I tell you, I get such wonderful such wonderful email from females and males. They say, I grew up with you, I love you, you gave me such wonderful, warm memories. Some adults have told me that I helped them get through their childhood. You know, that they had a rough childhood and that every Saturday morning it kind of like gave them something to look forward to. Well, that does something to you, you know. And so it's just, some kids were afraid of me, some kids weren't. It is unusual that the Croft shows stick with people. They really do. They're loyal. I think it's because Sid and Marty are very creative, very innovative. Because remember, you know, not only Lidsville, but Puff and Stuff as well. We had music. You know, we had wonderful music in Puff and Stuff. Les Sarvis did the music and lyrics. And you don't have that for kids. I mean, you don't have that today. You know what I'm saying? They were way ahead of their time because those shows hold up today. They could put those shows on today and they'd still hold up. In fact, I have adults who grew up with the shows, all of the Croft shows from all of them. But mostly I hear because of Puff and Stuff and Lidsville. That they buy the DVDs so that their kids can watch it, so their kids can grow up with it. So that says a lot because they want their kids to share what they had, you know, which I think is says something for Sid and Marty Croft, I think.